What's going on? How is everybody doing? I'm excited. I got all the guys backstage. Real quick, next week we're going to have two people on. We got Rashawn coming talking about not only the last Snakehead tournament, the last tournament day winners and all that, and then he's going to talk about this Saturday coming up from next week, where they're doing the second leg of the Snakehead Tournament Trail from the Legion of Anglers. So he's supposed to come on next week, um, and I think I'm going to have a young lady come on. She is a kayak bass fisherman. I'm going to really try to promote some of the women that's in the bass fishing industry. I got a couple ladies I'm talking to that are hitting either local all female bass fishing, or they're actually in the Bassmasters touring around the country and fishing. So that's kind of cool. I'm a little excited about that. We have Matt coming on from the Chop Tank Riverkeeper. He's coming on. He's going to talk about everything he's been doing on the Chop Tank and really what his job is. I was really, kind of interested in what he does on the Chop Tank, since I live literally 5 minutes from the Chop Tank. And real quick, we are going to bring up Scott. Scott is doing an awesome job. He's a nonprofit, and he's really taking out a lot of kids and just doing a lot of good stuff. So he's going to come up real quick before Lenny and talk about all the good stuff that he's doing. All right. So let's get on with the show. Let's rock and roll. All right.
There's the background go like this.
Yeah, the old school metalhead here. That's awesome. I've been seeing some of your clips out there, man. He's an old school metalhead, a little bit more towards the punk rock kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah. It's kind of crazy. I was in the midst of the punk scene in New York City. I lived at the time. Let me get my frame right here. My branding. But at the time, yeah, it was the 70s and 80s, and we used to really like an hour drive to New York City. The Ramones, the Dead Boys,
CBGB's going up there.
CBGB's was like our hangout spot. Yeah, man, it was just being there for that was just incredible. We used to literally, I was in high school. I would like crawl out my window. I'm like, I'm going to bed early. I'd sneak out my window. My buddy, we had one guy who was driving at that point. We were all like 16 and 17, hop in his Dodge Dart and drive up to New York City and catch a show, come back, climb back in the window, and wake up and go to school the next day.
When we were young, the stuff. All right, so let everybody know real quick. You've been really doing a lot of cool stuff, and you got some stuff coming up. You got a lot of good sponsors, and if anybody wants to help you out, please explain it anywhere they need to go. I'll try to put it in a description. But if there's anything, let me check the chat, because you can always put it into the chat. If Big Yacker, he's actually in here. You are a mod, so if you want to put any links for Scott, please put them in the chat. Anybody that wants to do that. So explain what you're doing and some of the things you have coming up, if it's okay.
Yeah, so it's exciting. We're started this year off as a nonprofit, where last year, pretty much anything we did, we were going in our own pockets and begging people for money and whatever, which we still do. But now we do it as a nonprofit. It's a little easier to beg for money, or not beg, but ask for partnerships and sponsorships when you are a nonprofit. And the U.S. government recognized us as an entity, a 501c3, earlier this year. So now we're just, really trying to expand more. Hey, Tommy. I got a Tommy Robinson story, but then again, who doesn't, right? But yeah, so we jumped in this year. We've already done. April was a big month for us. We did one event in March, but we realized that it's probably too early and too cold, so we're not doing any more March events. But April, we did two charter fishing events. One was targeting, actually, both were targeting blue cats, but the first one that we did, the weather was horrible, and it just became a great event to get together and hang out and eat food and community. And what's cool is the fishing and catching fish was really kind of last on our list of priorities. Really, first is inclusion. We want folks to be able to be included in these types of activities that may never have been exposed to it before. Also, community, because we're not just a one-off where we take an organization or a family or even an individual out for like a one trip. We're building relationships. We have partners. One of them is Balanced Adventures. You see, I'm wearing the shirt. Is partners, these organizations that Monday through Friday, their responsibility is to take special needs and differently abled adults, primarily young adults, out to do stuff to get them out of the house because their parents will never be empty nesters. These folks will be home with their parents forever. So Monday through Friday, what our partners do, these organizations, they give these families a break by taking these folks out bowling and hiking and to the movies and doing various different activities and obviously fishing with us. But again, it's not just a one-off. We do a bank fishing trip. We'll do we've done speaking of Tommy Robinson with the Amped Up Outdoors guys, we've done a bunch of trips with them where we have our friends, our clients, our partners coming catching huge carp and huge catfish with our partners there. And just the experiences that these guys are getting is just incredible. And then really we kind of ramp them up to the charter fishing experience where they get to go out on a charter boat. They get to catch, depending on the time of the year, blue cats were the target just because we couldn't catch rockfish. But typically we're out, perches, white perches coming in. So I'm foreseeing our next trip to really be hanging right by the bridge, catching some spots, some perch, hopefully some rockfish. And that next event is coming up on May 20th. Actually, yeah, the day before the Blue Angels. It was originally scheduled for the 21st, but we moved it to the 20th based on the suggestion of some of our captains. They're like, yeah, you don't want to go near any marine on the day of the Blue Angels. You want to be, home watching on TV or whatever. So, so that's our next event. And that's actually going to be with ARC of it's ARC. Forget what that stands for, but there's a huge national organization that provides these type of services. And so we have a group coming out, and we're actually talking to 3 different ARC groups right now that all want to do trips with us. And up to this date, we have about 8 different partner companies that come out and do these trips with us. So really what we're looking for now is a couple things. One, obviously, we're always looking for partners that want to come in and partner with us on these events. We have amazing partners like Edgemere Bait and Tackle. Man, those guys have been so awesome and so generous, donating bait to us and just for multiple events and just kind of like Scott, whatever you need type of thing, which we just love their hearts, and we've really been able to get a great don't forget the raffle. Been able to create a great relationship with companies like them and Amped Up Outdoors and Channel Chat and all those guys, as well as Big Yacker Fishing, who really when him and I, and Big Yacker, you normally have his hat on. I think this is the first time I've seen him without his hat on, so I think that's one of your favorite hats. But I mean, here's a guy that when I first started kayak fishing 3 years ago, he was one of the guys that I started watching. And that kind of like segues me right into my Tommy Robinson story. Back in those days, about 3 years ago, I ran into Tommy, and we were going off out of Mardella Springs, I think. Beautiful place. My son suggested to go there. And man, I tell you what, I saw him, he had the motor on his kayak, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, oh yeah, man, I got a motor so I can get in there, go in way deep and go back for those snakeheads, where other people aren't going. Like, I need a motor.
Right.
So it kind of changed my whole path. And since then, we've connected with Amped Up Outdoors, man. Those guys are so awesome. And we've also had great partnerships like Chick-fil-A of Annapolis, who sponsored our last event, the food for our last event. Ashling restaurant in Crofton, amazing, kind of an American fare, but they do different kind of themes and stuff. And this is a great organization. They also do catering for all the concert venues in the area, for a lot of the concert venues in the area. So when you're backstage at these major concerts, they're the ones providing the food. So anyways, they're just, partners like that. Who else? Oh my goodness gracious. I feel like I'm a NASCAR driver, mentioning all of our sponsors. But Tactical Fishing and High Octane Custom Baits and Rashawn, Infamous Fishing, and oh my goodness.
Hogfin was there too, right?
What's that?
Something about Hogfin.
Hogfin, yeah, Hogfin. Oh my goodness gracious, Hogfin, huge partner. They sponsored our T-shirts for the last few events. So we have official kind of Hogfin Lucky and Blessed event shirts that were given out to all the participants as well as the volunteers. So man, really we've just been so blessed by these partners. And we're obviously looking for more partners. We don't have a event sponsor for the May event, which is just coming up in 2 weeks. So we're still kind of scrambling for that. And that just covers costs on the T-shirts and, water and sometimes bait, but Edgemere Bait and Tackle will probably, help us out with that. But sometimes we may have to cover the food costs because we may not have a food sponsor and that type of thing too. So really it just goes into overall costs for the event. And then whatever doesn't get used for that particular event, it kind of goes into a fund that is used for specifically those types of events that we do. So anyways, I know you have more show coming up and I don't want to take all your time, but luckyandblessed.org is our website.
Put it in the chat. Make sure you put it in the chat so anybody want to check it out.
Yeah, luckyandblessed.org. Are you asking me to put it in the chat?
No. Yacker can put it in there. Colin
okay, yeah. But yeah, luckyandblessed.org. You can see our events on there. If you want to volunteer with us, there's a form that you can volunteer with us. And our volunteers can do anything, but if you're an angler, obviously, we would love for you to connect with some of our families. We have families that come in that want to go out on a bank fishing trip. If you're a private boat owner and an angler, or if you're a charter captain, obviously and an angler, we have families that want to go out and do like what we talked about with these big charter trips, but just do a small family trip. I have to mention Chuck from Salty Siren. He's done several of these, a couple of our events, our open events, or I'm sorry, our partner events, and he's also done some of our family events as well, where our captain is actually taking out one of our families to experience the water, maybe for the first time and fishing for the first time. So can't put anything in the chat. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got it. He's driving.
Awesome. Oh, Tommy's reaching out. Awesome, brother. That sounds great, man. Look forward to hearing from you. Let's grab a beer or a lunch or something and chat for sure.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, and Big Yacker mentioned that we have a raffle, obviously, now that we're a nonprofit. It seems like a lot of our activity is trying to raise money. And so we have a rod raffle going on. If you just go to rodraffle.com, somebody go to rodraffle.com and let me know if it pulls up. You'll see we have a backyard custom rod that is an autism rod that was designed by Steve Fogel. This is the second one he's designed for us. The first one was designed and paired with an autism reel, and that was actually given to our partners over at Boundless Adventures. Again, the shirt I'm wearing. And that was given to them at an Amped Up Outdoors event. Actually, we presented it to them at one of those crazy, huge carp catfish events. And so, again, another one of our partner sponsors, Steve Fogel. But anyway, so in addition to that rod, we're actually pairing it with a beautiful 3000 Cast King Royal reel, which is kind of all red, and then the rod has red highlights in it. So it's a beautiful pairing. If anybody pulled that up, if you could just let us know if that actually was the right link, rodraffle.com. If not, it's rodraffle.org. It's one of the two, or both. I don't know. Should be both, but I think I own both the domain names. Anyways, so with that, you also get a black pack that has been donated by Big Yacker Fishing, and then a bunch of lures. We have lures being donated by Tactical Fishing. We have lures being donated by High Octane Custom Baits, as well as Infamous Fishing. So it's a huge package. All you got to do is pay $5 to get a ticket. If you buy, and you can buy 10, if you buy 10 tickets, you get 10 tickets for free. Obviously that increases your chances to win. So, and yeah, I got to talk with my my buddy Brian over at Edgemere Bait and Tackle, because he's like the raffle king.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to buy him lunch upcoming and pick his brain on how we can do better with these raffles. So, but anyways, the raffle is just for us to folks have donated stuff. Now we can actually raffle that off, and the money that comes in is going to go right towards our events. So 100% goes right to our events.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna bring Lenny up.
Yes.
And like I said, man, anything to promote you. It's great, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on and spread the word. Please put anything in the chat that you need. If you can't put it in, make sure I'll try to make you a mod or whatever so you can do it. All
Cool.
right.
Thanks for having me, brother. Really appreciate it. And thanks, y'all. Check us out. Come out to the events. Have some fun with us.
All right, Scott. Hey, take it easy, buddy.
Thanks, man.
All right, let me do this real quick. Lenny Rudow.
That's fun.
What you do? Oh, wrong one. Hold on. There we go.
You got it. You give me flashbacks with those pictures, man.
Yeah, I was going through there today. I got home and said, you know what? Let me make a quick little video because I mean, when I kind of think of you, I mean, when I think of you in the Chesapeake Bay, you know, and I want to get into how, you know, I don't know if you've lived. I think I remember you saying, I don't know if you lived here all your life, but when I think of now, I'm not talking too much of the professional anglers or the real good. I'm talking more like the weekend warriors, the beginners and stuff like that. You've been such a big part of people not only learning how to fish, not only learning how to rig, not learning maybe get to this. Because I asked you that lovely question. Do you really get a hard time of people? You know, you actually give some pretty good distinct. Sorry about that. Distinctive spots. And sorry, you know how it is. So you got a producer. I don't. You got a producer. Oh my goodness! But I think you're kind of the face of it. I think you're kind of the face of the Chesapeake Bay when it comes to that. At least to me. I mean, you know,
I hope so. I love that.
It's not blowing smoke up your butt. I mean, anybody knows me. I'm not a kind of person that's going to blow smoke up your butt and give you a bunch of horse crap. Because I mean, you're really there for not only the beginning angler, the beginner, but still, I mean, you're there. I mean, you do a lot of teaching, you do a lot of showing, whether it's taking care of the rockfish or how to tie a bottom rig. You know what I mean?
I am fully immersed.
So did you grow up in Maryland?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an old time Baltimorean.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Baltimore. Lived in Maryland my whole life. Man, I can't think of any time where I spent more than say a week outside of the state.
Nice. You should got out of the state.
I can't. I hate traveling. I can't stand leaving Maryland. I love Virginia. Virginia's really cool. They're great neighbors. They got the Bay too. But much beyond that, man, I can't stand it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be in Virginia in 2 weeks and I'm going to be hanging out with your buddy. I'm going to be going down there with Paulie and we're going to do some red fishing.
Oh, nice. You're going to love that.
Yeah. So I went with him last year to do some red fishing and it was funny. We get out to a spot and there's breaking fish everywhere. The only thing we caught was like a speckled trout or two. And we're watching like 30-inch reds underneath the boat and nothing would take it. I did catch a puppy drum. That was my first ever puppy drum. Like I said, I'm not a saltwater guy. So it's going to be exciting. I want to catch something big. I'm going to do it on my bass gear. That's all I have is my bass tackle, but that's what I'm going to try to catch. Hopefully a nice big redfish on it. So, I mean, I told you to, if you had your books available, I mean, you've wrote a couple books from, okay. Can you explain some of the books that you wrote and stuff like that?
Happen to have them. I have a couple of them. I don't have the whole library. It would take a while. I actually have 7 in total, but one really stinks. So I don't even talk about that one. That was old. But the Chesapeake Guide is kind of my.
Sorry about that.
Well, it's my most popular seller, and I guess I don't know if it's my claim to fame or whatever, but it's the one that's been out there the longest, the most read for sure. And like you talked about, do I give away spots? Yeah, I give away spots. I mean, nobody owns them. And besides, good spots come and go. One day they're hot, the next day they're not. And
Right.
a really good angler once said to me, if you only got one spot and you're upset when someone's there, well, man, you better find some other spots, right? I mean, hot spots change and whatever. So I did give away a bunch in this book. I think it's actually like 550. And I continue this day because nothing makes me happier than helping other people catch fish. And if they're going to catch fish in my spot and I go there and I look and, oh my gosh, there's someone in my spot, so be it. You know, I'll go to the next spot. And it doesn't upset me even a little bit. And then I got, you know, books like Modern Jigging, and I've got a there's like I say, 6 of them in total. And my latest is the Guide to Mistakes Anglers Make, which came about because I was just getting crushed by my wife and one of my boys. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then it hit me. And I was like, man, I've been fishing all these years. I've been fishing all these different places for all these different fish, and I'm still making mistakes. We all do, right? We all do. And it was just kind of a total eye-opener to me. And so I came out with that one. And people ask me all the time, when's your next book? When's your next book? And I tell you what, it's not anytime soon, because as long as this guy's in the room, there's Fish Talk.
Yeah.
Fish Talk takes up my full attention. It's almost like writing a book every month. So
How does that go? I mean, when did you decide? You've been writing books. When did you decide to actually even start that magazine? And how long has it been since it's been, you know, since you started?
We're actually in our 7th year of publication, which boggles my mind to even say it. I can't believe we've been around this long now, but we're in the 7th year. And I started it for 2 reasons. The first reason was I was just downright angry because we had no fishing magazine. Like, we didn't. There was just nothing.
You got the DNR. You got the DNR book every year, right?
Yeah. We didn't. We had no magazine. The Fishermen used to cover the Chesapeake. They did a great job of it. I love the Fishermen. I wrote for the Fishermen, but in the Great Recession, they kind of pulled back their coverage. They went back to their home territory up north, New Jersey, New York, that kind of thing. And it was just a real bummer that we didn't have a publication. So on that count, I just wanted to do it. And then the other thing was I was working for a large company at the time. And I knew from my experiences working for large publishing companies that when they got bought, they generally laid everybody off and then sort of started fresh. And the company I was working for got bought. And I was like, that's it. I know what's going to happen next. I'm just going to start Fish Talk. And I did. And much to my surprise, they didn't fire me at the time. But a few months later, you want to guess what happened? They laid everybody off. And I was like, okay, well, I am ready.
The Outdoorsman magazine.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one.
I know there's a guy, there's a gentleman in Maryland. I don't know if if you're kind of a fisherman, oh crap, what's his name? I forgot his name, but he has a radio show every Saturday morning from 5 to 7 for the last 30 some years. It's called an Outdoorsman radio show on 680 AM. He's a local, he talks hunting, fishing, everything. He'll bring DNR guys on. He's been doing it for like 35 years, every Saturday morning.
I'm not a radio guy, so I don't know, but there are, and I'd be the first to say there have been some publications, some different media venues that have catered to the outdoors in general, Right. But I really wanted, fishing is really where I'm at. And so I really wanted to focus on fishing, be all about fishing and nothing but, and we have had there have been other media entities, other magazines and whatnot that have, covered bits and pieces. But man, if I'm going to sit down and read something, honestly, I want it to be all about fishing.
So you're obviously more of a saltwater guy. Did you just not get in? Were you pretty much all around, or did you emphasize more on the saltwater?
I'm really all around, but what happens is I don't really do much fresh once we hit, once the perch start to run. I get distracted, in the summertime. I love the bay. I get distracted by the offshore action. In the
really?
winter time, when everything in the bay calms down and the ocean calms down, that's when I really tend to go freshwater. And actually, I absolutely love that February pickerel fishing, floating around in a mill pond. I have a little, I call it my pond hopper boat, just a tiny little 10-foot 2-seater, but I really enjoy that stuff. It's just that, man, there's always such a good bite going on somewhere. It's really easy to get distracted to it. And in the summertime, for me, mostly that's on the bay.
I mean, we really do have a pretty great fishery.
Shocking.
I mean, because I
Absolutely
was
shocking.
never a saltwater guy. Like I said, I wasn't a saltwater guy, and I'm hearing all. I mean, they're catching cobia, rockfish, sea bass. I mean, they're catching everything.
I tell you what, and I mean this in all sincerity, and I know I'm biased, but I really mean this. The different magazines I've worked for through the years, because I've worked for a bunch of them, okay? You name it, Saltwater Sportsman, The Fisherman, and just throughout the entire venue. They've shipped me all over the world to fish. Hawaii, Alaska, you name it. And wherever I have been, without fail, there's been at least some period of time when I was fishing for, whatever, halibut, striped marlin, I don't care what it is. There's been at least some period of time during the day where I'm sitting there going, oh man, I kind of wish I was back at home on the bay.
Yeah.
That happens wherever I go. And then you can point to some very specific fisheries and say, hey, we're really world class, right?
Yeah.
That winter striper bite we had was truly world class. There are times when some in Maryland, more so in Virginia, but some in Maryland, where our redfish fishery is truly world class. You want to catch a big giant bull redfish? This is the place to be. There have been times in the last 10 years where a cobia fishery has been off the hook, world class, just as good as anywhere.
They look like fun. They look really. Have you ever caught one?
A cobia?
Yeah.
Oh, many.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm biting my tongue on the superlatives I would like to use to describe them. There's some serious fish. They will kick your butt. They'll put a hurting on you. And man, they taste good. Oh my God, they taste so good.
Really? I mean, it's
one of my favorites to eat. Absolutely fabulous fish.
Now on the ocean, I mean, what's your favorite one to target when you? Now this is last year, I really took the chance because I know I would get seasick. I almost got seasick, but I went and I chartered the Angler right out of Ocean City for a sea bass trip. I've never, ever, ever, ever been in the ocean, and we went 2 hours offshore. It took us 2 hours to get out to our spot offshore. And the good thing is I looked at they said it was only supposed to be 5 to 10 mile an hour winds. So I said, okay, I didn't take no Dramamine, but halfway through, so they anchor for a little bit. And when they anchored, if the boat was going, straight forward, I was okay. But when he anchored, we started doing the side kind of bobble, weaving and wobbling. Oh my goodness. I almost lost my cookies, man. I won't lie to you. So it scares me to go offshore because, I didn't take no Dramamine or anything. I'm scared. I think that stuff puts you to sleep. And I know, but I went and caught some sea bass. And I tell you what, that is the least fishiest taste. That is probably the most mild tasted fish I've ever tasted.
Great fish. I call them Yankee grouper because they taste so much like grouper,
Really?
I got to tell you, have you tried the ear patches? Scopolamine. No. Those things work really, from what I've seen, they work really well and people are generally not knocked out, And Tommy's asking about the fish favorite to eat. I'm right back to cobia. That said it already. Although snakehead is like a Chesapeake fish now, and they're pretty tough to beat. They're really good fish.
There's my mom. My mom's showing up. There's my mom saying hi, supporting the son. But that was really good. The snakehead's a lot more firmer. So let me tell you what. There's one trick that I found about putting there's a website for Scott. Scott put it in there right there for you to check out. I appreciate it, Scott. So I brought back the sea bass, and I've vacuum sealed fish before and it was okay. But I'm telling you, man, I sat down there and just filled my Ziploc baggie full of water zipped it up, got the air out of it, and left it in the water. And about a week or so later, I thawed it out, and it was perfect. It was perfect. Just putting water in it, just water. A lot of people say actually, if you put it, like if you went and had some salt water from the ocean and you put it in the water that you actually caught it in, is even better.
I've been told you should never let the fillet touch any water except the water it came out of.
So see, I'm still a rookie. But I put it. It tastes fine. It tastes wonderful. And the best thing is that you are a Wooder. You're like me. I used to say Wooder all the time. You're definitely from Baltimore.
I've been told. I've been told.
But the good thing is that we have plenty of crab meat around here from all the crabbing we do all summer long. That it got stuffed with crab meat. So a nice big crab cake on top of that sea bass was absolutely delicious.
That is nice.
So if you got your fish, what's your favorite way to actually cook your favorite fish?
Oh, so I got a really good one for you. This is a old Florida fish camp recipe that I learned while fishing in Indian River Lagoon. And this story is going back so far that I had a early vintage Berkeley, not the Gulp, the other one. Shucks. Powerbait.
I'm old
enough.
It
was like Powerbait had just come out, been introduced. And all the Florida guys were making fun of me. They told me I was fishing with gummy bears because I'm throwing these Powerbaits.
Right.
And long story short, the fishing really stunk. But I got a cobia, right? And we took it back to the fish camp, and their recipe was to slather it in a 50-50 mixture of mayo and blue cheese salad dressing. And then you bake it until it gets brown on top. And I tell you what, I ate that and I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. And that's how I do it to this day. And just for the record, by the end of the trip, those guys were like, where can I get me some of them gummy bear lures?
That's it. Powerbait. That was if you were, there was no such thing as Gulp, and Powerbait was that was the
decade before Gulp.
Yeah, that's actually. I think I have some in my tackle box. I'm a bass fisherman.
They do still make it.
Yeah, and it'll still work. That you do all the book and writing. Did you write for anybody, or was it all about when you were with these art companies? Did you do a lot of writing?
Oh, it was all writing. I worked full time for Hachette, which was at the time it was for Boating Magazine. The publishing house was Hachette, and worked full time for Boats Group. It's always been boating and fishing, but historically it was magazines. But of course, the industry has changed so much. I mean, magazines have just been decimated.
Right.
A lot of guys that I've known for many years told me I was nuts to try and start one. And maybe they were right, but hey, it's worked out okay. And I do a lot of work to this day that is on the digital side, which really truly is not far off from what the old magazine work was. It's still service journalism. It's still trying to show people how to do stuff like catch fish or change the oil in their lower unit on their outboard or whatever through the written word. Still basically the same thing. No, a lot more video these days and stuff like this.
So watching your live. So I don't get a chance really a lot of times to watch the whole live because I'm like Tommy Robinson. I get up at 1:30 in the morning to go to work. So I'm usually in bed around. Yeah, tell me about it. I've been doing it for like 28 years. And I watch you live, and I know you said that you really want to come up on a chop tank. Now, I live 5 minutes from the chop tank now. So you have a boat here. You want to go out and you want to do something on the chop tank. You ain't got to bring a boat or nothing. Just give me a call, man. We can make a day out of it.
I'll
trade you. I'll take you up on the chop tank or the Marshy Hope. Have you ever been out on the Marshy Hope? Yeah.
So believe it or not, I am very familiar with the Marshy Hope. My daughter used to live on it.
That's a good fishery, man.
Yes, that is a fabulous fishery. She was on, I think it's called Old Man Creek that shoots off of it. And it was utterly fabulous. More catfish than you could shake a stick at. Plenty of snakeheads, a lot of bass, surprising number of bass. Yeah, look at that. Just
That was,
a
you know who's
ton of-
behind me, right? There's David Confair.
Cornflower.
Cornflower. That came right off. It came right where we were just talking about.
Yeah, the Marshy Hope is a very cool river. I'll tell you what impressed me the most about the creek she lived on was we went up it, and I'm talking, it was like the width of a 1-lane road. You know, we went all the way up it and all the way back down and pulled the little mini boat out. We're a little tiny 8-foot, bathtub of a boat. And the crazy thing is we went all the way up and down that creek. And you know what we did not see? We did not see one single piece of trash. Not one.
It's a really pretty river too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a lot. It's not trashed up too much. The people down there, even if you go down into Federalsburg and you go down to the little park that's there, that's actually really, really clean. I mean, they take care of it really, really well down there. They don't trash it up. It's really nice. And then you can go down to the VFW hall. You know that if you leave like from the VFW hall and you head down, like you're heading down towards the Nanticoke, right on the right hand side, man, there's like all kind of sick deer in there. I heard them one morning bugling real. They have the most amazing bugle. I don't know if you ever heard one. Have you ever heard one?
I have not. And I know guys who are really into hunting for them, but I gotta say, to me, it seems like kind of a waste of good fishing time.
Yeah. And I had chance at once and won and I missed. And I'm a city boy. I grew up in Dundalk, so I'm a chicken necker down here, as they call it, you know. And even though I've been down here for, I don't know, how long have we been down here now? About 15. We've been here about 15 years now, and we love it. It's a whole different pace, you know.
Yeah, Dundalk, you count as a Baltimorean too.
Oh, I don't. Hey, I do a little bit of hunting because my wife told me we would starve if we had to rely on me to go kill anything. You know what I mean? It's still, I say this multiple times, man. It still creeps me the hell out to go in dark woods. I grew up in Lights. I grew up in the city, man. You know, I grew up down in right off O'Donnell. You know, I was down on O'Donnell Street all the way up. I like Lights. Going into dark wood, you know, it still creeps me out at 57 years old. But so, I mean, now you do travel, you pretty much stay on the East Coast now though.
Well, I mean, pretty much. I still do travel some for work. It depends on the client. Along with Fish Talk, I write for a lot of different outlets, a lot of different, media entities. And the majority of them, most of the work, truth be told, is in Florida, because Florida is sort of the epicenter of the boating world, It's the epicenter of the saltwater fishing world. There's just a lot going on in Florida. So probably 9 out of 10 trips are to Florida. And hey, have I mentioned how much I hate Florida?
No, you didn't. Is it that bad?
I can't stand it.
Oh,
it's
really?
Super duper hot. And honestly, man, can I be frank with you? Can I just be perfectly frank?
Absolutely.
It seems to me like everywhere I go, like everybody's on crack. That's what Florida seems like. I'm sorry. I know that's politically incorrect. I apologize to our Floridian friends, but like you walk into a 7-Eleven and the guy behind the counter is like, I don't know. I'm sorry. Probably shouldn't have said that.
Maybe it's the neighborhood you're in. You could be from Dundalk. A lot of them moved down there.
I don't know. It turned me off to Florida. And there's some gorgeous places in Florida. I was in Key West a few months ago. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. But these days, man, someone says, get on an airplane and go to Florida. And I'm like, oh.
My bucket list is I want to catch a tarpon so bad. Have you ever went tarpon fishing?
Caught one last time I was there.
Oh, did you? Have you done it multiple times or your first time?
No, I've caught them, but honestly, this last one was unfair because it was a dock tarpon. You familiar with the dock tarpon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's just sitting there waiting to be fed.
Okay.
And the Floridians don't like you to really catch them. Right. They really like to leave. They're like their pets. They like to leave them alone. But the fact of the matter is we were blown out. We had 35 knot winds and we were sitting there at the dock and somebody said, can I catch one of these tarpon? And the captain was like, yeah, might as well. You guys go ahead. Everybody catch one.
Right. Nice. Oh my! I was getting ready to ask you a question. Why did I just see? That's why my age just goes. Whew. The so you've been Florida. I know I want to go down there. I want to always wanted to go to Key West, and I'm still going to go. Do you like Key West, or you just don't?
Yeah, I'm not a I like being at home. I do. I like being at home.
You're
Key
like
West
me,
is nice for Florida. Let's put it that way. The fishing can be phenomenal.
right?
I've been there plenty of times where it hasn't been phenomenal. I've probably been there, I don't know, 24 times through the years. And I've had plenty of trips there where, you think you're going to catch a ton of fish and it just doesn't happen. That happens too. Had some others where you just loaded up on nonstop action. That happens too. It's like fishing anywhere. I mean, come on,
Right.
it's fishing. You know?
Have you ever been to Louisiana and did anything down there before?
Interesting you pull Louisiana. I have never been to Louisiana. I've
I don't
not.
like alligators, and I swear, every time I think about going to Florida, all I think about is one of my chocolate labs being stupid and jumping in the water and getting eaten. Because
Ooh,
here
wow.
they can because in here they can just go in and they on the boat and everything they can just run and jump in the water, and it would take 1 second and they would jump in the water, and then I mean, if I wanted to get rid of them, we should take a trip to Florida and feed them to the alligators. My wife is giving me.
Yes. Stop while you're ahead. Stop while you're ahead.
Yeah. But you do a lot of boat shows. And you actually bought a new boat last year too, didn't you?
I did. I upgraded. Yeah. Actually, the year before last, it was not this past October, but the one before that, which I had hoped to get even earlier, but the whole COVID messing up the boat builders thing messed me up. They just couldn't get the boat. It took them like 8-9 months to build the boat. But I got a Camus 26 HB with a 300 Suzuki on the back, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have it. I had the same boat before that for 13 years. It was a 22 Glacier Bay, and it was a great boat. I mean, that boat, you could ride that boat through 6-foot seas and you're fine. But it went everywhere 22 miles an hour. I don't care if it was 6-inch waves or 6-foot waves. You were doing 22 miles an hour. That was it. That was everything. And the Camus, I can really, I can kind of fly.
Right.
And the big thing for me is, we were talking earlier a little bit about the redfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the Glacier Bay, it might have been a 2-hour run to even take a poke at them. Whereas in this boat, it's 45 minutes. And I wanted to have that flexibility to do a little more running, to go for the reds, to go for the specks, to go for the different fish, to go for the cobia, without having to hold the boat and trailer it, which of course I still do it. It's doable, but it just adds a whole nother dimension to just how much of an endeavor any particular day of fishing is.
Right.
So I really wanted to be able to just go to the marina. The marina is 2 minutes from my house. I wanted to just be able to go there, press a button, lower the boat in the water, and go. And I'm really happy with it. It's really allowed me to do that.
And you said it's giving you a better ride. You said the other one, because they say you have said that you've had a little bit, back issue and stuff like that. Is that helping a lot at all?
Well, the Glacier Bay I got because of my back issues, and that boat was about as smooth as they come, for foot for foot.
Was it heavy?
It very, okay. Yeah, but it was a cat. The cats really can eat up the waves. A well-designed one, and the 22 Glacier Bay is, it's known for that ride. It has other weird quirks, that are less than ideal. But just as far as smoothness of ride goes, you could literally, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. You point that bow into a 6-foot head sea, and you were still doing 22. You weren't slowing down. In fact, really? Absolutely. That ride was pretty unbeatable for a 22-foot boat. Now, the Camus is not a cat. A lot of people were surprised I didn't get a cat. I looked at several before I settled on the Camus, but the truth of the matter is that boat has it's the SVVT hull design. It stands for Stepped V Ventilated Tunnel. And what you've got is 2 steps that feed into a tunnel. And it's not cat-like, but you still get that sort of air cushion building up under the boat. So when you come down on waves, it's just not nearly as abrupt. The Camus is built very stoutly, so when it comes down on waves, there's not a lot of vibrations running through the boat. It just feels really solid. And it's a pretty darn fantastic ride. And what the crazy thing is, it's a hybrid bay boat. And historically, those boats would beat you to death. 10
Yeah.
years ago, if you told me I was going to get a bay boat, I would have said, you're crazy. I can't take it. I'll fall apart. I'll be in the hospital,
Right.
But somewhere around, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, they just started getting better and better at designing those hulls and building the boats. And it really is a completely different story today. They're just different boats. They really are.
I guess after all these years, I guess they're just a lot. There's so many different kind of. I don't keep up on all the boats. There's so many of them out there, but um, I was with Grant one time, and I thought his boat. It kind of we had a little bit of a long ride. Um, we did hit one wave that when you go up, it didn't seem like it ever was going to come down. It was going down so long, you know what I mean? And when we hit, it wasn't right, and my neck hasn't been the same since. But you know what I mean? But I thought his actually really dispersed water pretty well for his. I think he had like an 18, maybe
Yeah,
a
it's a little
24.
whaler, isn't it?
Yeah, it was maybe it was I don't know, but it was actually I thought it did very well. But I would think after all these years, they would have, I mean, been beat up enough to figure out. It's like me. I have an aluminum boat. You're going to get killed anywhere. That's why I don't go in the bay. You know what I mean? Mine's aluminum flat. You're. I've ran from Dominion, just say around Ken Island, around the Ken Island area, and I drove across, which isn't a long drive, about a 15-minute drive, or boat ride to the mouth of the Wye River. So that wasn't that far of a drive, and it wasn't out on the main bay, but still, it can get a little rough out there. And it was okay going back. It was a little rough on the way down, and the only other time I really put my boat in about 4 foot, it came out of nowhere. We were down around, where was that? What's the name of that campground? Roaring Point. Down around Roaring Point. We were down there, and that is like right at the open of the mouth of the bay and on that creek, and it can get rough really, really, really fast. We went across and was just fine. We went and did some rock fishing, and so we came back, and then we went to go back over, and they were 3-4 footers in my 18-foot little flat bottom. And I finally said, "Hey man, I think we're going to go back." He goes, he's like, "Thank God, I'm glad you're going to turn around." we were getting pretty beat up. But I was never a bay guy. I used to tell you the honest truth. I used to get right at Hartmel Island when the boat traffic came in. I used to get sick there just by the waves of the boat for a time being. But I've gotten a lot better. That's how.
It's funny you'd say that. That's one of the things about where we live. I mean, let's face it, we're in one of the most heavily populated corridors on the eastern seaboard, right?
Yeah.
In the entire country. And you can have a perfectly flat, calm day out there, and it can be rough.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many boats running around all over the place.
I mean, that is actually that's what happened. Me and a wife will go. We went out right underneath. We went crabbing right underneath the Cambridge, the 50 bridge underneath Cambridge, and we were out there one day, and we got there a little earlier. And man, as the boat traffic started coming, I'm like, man, we got to get that. It's not fun. I mean, it's not fun, And but so going to all the boat shows and everything. I mean, I've think that all the years. I mean, if you got to seen some pretty. I mean, what's like this year? You go to all the shows. What is the craziest thing that you've seen this year? Whether it's technology wise or innovative for something, is there something that kind of sticks out to you?
Craziest thing I've seen this year. Well, a couple things, and you got to remember, boat building and boat design are as old as mankind, right? Mm-hmm. And you have these long periods where it seems like everything is more or less the same, and then all of a sudden there are these leaps, and there have been a couple leaps recently. One I would point to is the Seakeeper Ride, right? Which is I forget exactly how they term it. Long story short, it's like trim tabs that are connected to a computer that's connected to accelerometers and different sensors. And essentially, it can sense the boat's motion so quickly and adjust the paddles on the back so quickly that it can actually stop the boat from pitching and rolling as it's running.
Huh.
And it smooths out the ride to the tune of 40 to 70%, depending on the boat and the conditions. And the first time I was on a boat testing this, which actually was last year's Fort Lauderdale show, we had 6 or 7 journalists aboard, and I was the first one to try it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, right? And then I went to the back of the boat so everyone else could try it. Well, when I did that, the guy who was showing us the system turned it off so everybody could feel the off-on difference, right? And after about 15 minutes, I'm sitting there in the back of the boat. I'm like, quit turning that thing off. I'm more like a 32-foot boat running through the ocean, and I didn't want him to turn it off. I wanted it to stay on. It was like that big of a difference. So that's one. The other is going to be the Sharo propeller. And if you haven't seen these yet, you know, who can predict the future, right? But my honest belief is they will probably replace propellers as we know them. They're that much better. It's just shocking. They call them loop propellers. They don't have blades. They have these kind of loops of metal. Looks like an egg beater almost.
So is it like encased?
It's what's that?
Is it like encased?
No.
No?
They're like metal loops. Like think of an egg beater, right? But there's 3 of them. What this does is this eliminates the tips of the blades, and the tips of the blades is where cavitation forms, turbulence forms, all the bad stuff we don't like.
Right, hitting rocks and stuff and crashing. Yeah, I've done it. Okay.
It eliminates those factors, and so when you run it, there's much less white water, there's much less vibration, there's much less turbulence. And what's really spectacular is, you know how a lot of boats, you get up around 2,500, 3,000 RPM, they just plow through the water, right? They're doing like 12 miles an hour. They're not quite planing. These things will have the boat up on plane doing 25 miles an hour at like 2,800 RPM. It's pretty crazy. Throughout the mid-range, your fuel economy your goes way up. Your sound levels go way down. I mean, bottom line, they're just superior to normal propellers. Now, they're not incredibly widespread because of availability. The cost is high,
obviously,
and they don't really have that kind of mass manufacturing ability down pat yet. They're working on it. They're trying, and I'm sure they'll get there. But as of right now, it's still pretty limited availability, still quite expensive.
But something like that cost?
Oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I think they're going for like $5,000 a pop, but I could easily be wrong. Might be $3,000, might be $6,000. I'm not sure. And it is something that has been constantly changing because they've been working on taking it. Originally, they were milling these things.
Right.
So you can imagine that's super expensive. Takes forever, right? They did get it to some level of casting, but I don't believe they're like 100% of the way there yet. I think the price will come down in the future. I think availability will get better. But I'm telling you, I think these things are just going to replace propellers as we know them. They're just superior. That's all there is to it.
Any fly fishing tips?
Oh, Paul's making fun of me is what he's doing. He has my fly fishing acuity.
So let's get into let's talk a little bit of
Yeah, we went fly fishing last spring, not this spring, but the last spring. And I think I was the only guy on the trip who never caught a fish.
Okay.
I'm not a good fly fisherman. My fly fishing tip is to talk to someone else.
Yeah, talk to somebody else or just grab a spinning reel.
Yes.
So what is going on with the bay and fishing? You got anything? Give us what's going on. You are the FISHTALK Magazine editor in chief.
I don't want to preempt my own Friday fishing report because, of course, FISHTALK puts out fishing reports for the entire bay and coast and freshwater every Friday at noon. They come out. If you haven't seen people, go to fishtalkmag.com. Just look for the reports button. I don't want to steal my own thunder, but I got to tell you, in the last 2 days, some phenomenal reports have come in. The biggest from our contributor, Eric Packard. I think you know him, right?
I think so.
I think you met Eric. Didn't you meet him at the Annapolis Boat Show last year, maybe? I still remember us chatting. Anyway, he fishes like every day, right? So he fishes all over the place. Today he was on the Potomac, guess what? He was on. I'm sorry, one of the tributaries to the Potomac. He caught 6 reds.
Really?
6, and 2 specks. That's
pretty
a
damn
pretty
good.
big change from recent results. So that's pretty dang cool. Specks have showed up in the chop tank already. I've gotten 2 reports now of speckled trout in the chop tank, and the southern species are here. Farther down south in the Virginia waters, we're already hearing about some bulls. I would say the black drum run was not quite as awesome as it's been the last few years, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. We'll have to wait and see. But another big one is bluefish. Man, some huge chopper bluefish have been running up the coast. They're down towards the mouth of the bay. They've been off the beaches, off Assateague, off Bethany. They've been in Ocean City, inside the inlet, and they've been at Cape Henlopen. So, and these are big choppers. I'm talking, 5 to 12 pound fish.
I think I've seen some pictures.
Yeah, it's
especially
pretty
one
darn
at
exciting.
Henlopen Bait and Tackle. I was down there, and he's been sending some pictures. I think he's got one on there with a real nice big blue down there.
I'm sure they're kind of lighting it on fire. One of my sons, David, fished his kayak up near Cape Henlopen. It's probably might have been 10 days ago at this point, like the weekend before this past weekend. And he said it was just totally off the hook. They were hitting everything, racing through the water, utterly decimating bait fish. And those are, they're not the best fish in the world to eat. Personally, I don't like to eat a bluefish once it gets over like 3 or 4 pounds. Those big ones, they're just not the best.
I heard it get mushy. Do they get mushy? Is that
yeah, they get mushy. It's exactly right. The meat kind of falls apart. It's just not awesome. But as far as just, pound for pound fight goes, that's a tough fish to beat. Huh. That thing will rip line off your reel, go sailing through the air. They are some rugged fish.
I've always heard it. I think we used to go to, do you remember Ramona's Pier?
I recognize that name, but I can't tell you I can.
It was down off like towards Edgemere, Sparrows Point. You had to follow it all the way down. And then there was like a restaurant or something there, but they used to pay, was it like you paid like $5 or something? I can't remember. It's right there. It's right. The pier used to come out right where I think it was Hartmiller Island and that channel that would go out towards the bay. I think it's Hartmiller Island. I couldn't be wrong. I think it's Hartmiller Island. It's like the channel that would actually go like towards, if you were going towards the Bay Bridge, or maybe the Key Bridge. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while, but I remember catching a small. We used to catch small stripers there. They used to have lights up and down the pier.
Mm-hmm.
The lights, the stripers loved the lights, and so you would go down there. That pier used to get absolutely packed with fishermen, especially at nighttime. My dad used to take us down there at nighttime.
So believe it or not, many, many years ago, I used to work, one of my first jobs out of school, I worked on Hart Miller when it was still a dredge containment facility. It was still active. And the unloading pier where the barges would come in were all lit up like that. And any given night, the facility was 24/7. So we were out there all the time. Any given night, you could walk down that pier and there would just be rockfish swarming through those lights.
That's at nighttime. That's got to be an awesome. It's fun. That's fun fishing. And you're just basically, we just put little damn grubs on and just swimming around the pier, and we were catching them. You didn't need nothing special either. So is there anything? How about the bluefish? Have you heard anything going on with the bluefish? I mean, they're always going to be there. You know what? You know what I was thinking about? Wait, you know what I was thinking about today? You're putting all this effort to get rid of the bluefish, and I know that Captain Newberry had mentioned to me that if they really wanted to get rid of them, now I've seen Cam Boris, Stephen have a video. I think Noah Bressman, the biologist, I've seen him have a thing. Why wouldn't they go and just pay some money, which I know that's a hard thing to say, pay some money, and I'm sure you can get plenty of commercial guys. How many you get doesn't matter. Commercial watermen there. And wouldn't they just electric fish and they float right to the top and start chucking them into the commercial boats? I mean,
now you're talking for the blue catfish, correct?
Blue catfish.
Yes.
Catfish.
So actually, Virginia has been sorting through allowing an electrofishing fishery for the blue cats in certain areas. I'm not sure that Maryland has addressed it yet. There are a lot of potential problems that come up with it. Is somebody going to be swimming and get zapped?
Right.
Is some kid going to come running into the water and get zapped? There are a lot of issues with it, but the state of Maryland has, in my opinion, been really proactive and really good about trying to encourage both commercial and recreational fishing on the blue cats. There is a real push on. You're seeing it if you're reading Fish Talk. We're trying as best we can to promote it too. And the bottom line is the blue cats will always be there. We will not get rid of them. But the best way to kind of keep them in check is probably to sort of fish our way out of this issue. And it's got to, the commercial guys have got to play a huge role in that. Recreational can only do so much. Commercial really has a much bigger impact. But when you look at the numbers, and I'm not a numbers guy, so forgive me, I wouldn't try and quote them because I'll get them wrong. But when you look at the numbers of blue cats that have been commercially harvested, say 5 years ago versus today in the state of Maryland, it is through the roof. Now, the biologists tell us we need it to be like, 10 times that much, 20 times that much. I don't know. Again, I'm not a numbers guy. But, as spectacular as the increase has been, we need even more. And they really have taken measures to make it as easy as possible. I think they now allow you a blue catfish commercial fishing license for like
$15.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say it's like super cheap. It's nothing.
$15. But I think you can do a rod and reel. But see, I think the weird part about that is I don't know if I can sell it I can't sell it to anybody.
There are a lot of processors who are hungry for it. Now, it's not a huge amount of money.
No, I think that's one thing, because the way David Confair was telling me is one thing he don't like, because you can trout line for him, and he don't like the trout line because not only do you get rockfish, catfish, you kill rockfish and you kill other things, especially in a lot of these tributaries like Marshy Hope and stuff. If you're down there trout lining, for them, and if anybody don't know what a trout line, if you're in Maryland, you don't know what a trout line is. Florida. I didn't realize we were the only ones that actually trout line for crabs.
For crabs, yes. For catfish, I think it's very popular down south.
But he was saying that trout lining hurts a lot of people. But I was thinking about doing that. But the problem is, if I go down there and I have a couple of restaurants up here saying, hey, we'll take some of your blue cats, I can't sell it to them legally because it has to go through. Blue cats is the only fish that has to go through like FDA approval inspection.
That's for the processing. That's for the processing. And I'm certainly not an attorney, and I'm certainly not going to give anyone legal advice. And I would say, look up the rules. But I believe that only applies to the actual processors who take the whole fish and cut them up and then sell the fillets. They have to have FDA inspectors on site. And that's been cited as an issue many times in that it forces the processors to work a limited number of hours, which is when they have those people on site.
Right.
I'm not entirely sure the same is true when you sell a whole fish to an entity like a restaurant. I'm also not entirely sure that the license they sell for the blue catfish gives you the legal right to do that. There are so many little legal minutiae in here. It gets very confusing. And if you want to do it, you really got to sort through a lot of legalities.
It's good to have a commercial license, but you go get a commercial license. If I can't sell it, it's like crabs. If I got a commercial license, there's certain things you have to do, but I can sell them to a buyer or I can sell them myself. Do I get a commercial license? Do I fillet them? And are they going to let me sit at my house and start selling,
There's some kind of separate license that allows you to sell what you catch.
Yeah.
As opposed to just catching it. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I do know a lot more people have jumped into it. But what you said, David was saying, I have also been told, I believe that's accurate, that with the trot lining, and I think it's certain times and certain places, right? I don't think it's across the board, but certain times and certain places, you do subject other species that you don't want to catch to those hooks. and you do pull them up, and those trout lines sit there for hours at a time.
Yeah, overnight
And-
sometimes.
Right. And if you pull up a rockfish, there's a very good chance that's going to be a dead rockfish. And nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to just waste a dead fish, right? So I'm afraid that is it's just one more dilemma we got to deal with.
I can get a direct wholesale license to sell directly to restaurants.
Okay. But that's a separate license.
I think it's a separate license. That wouldn't be cool. But I think you're only getting, you have to use, circle hooks. Yeah. Oh God, I did it again.
I think at this point, you got to use circle hooks like on the bay, pretty much whatever you're doing. Like it's just like, better just use a circle hook, or because you never know. I mean, look at the whole yellow perch debacle we had this spring, where guys were fishing with shad darts and being told, "Oh, they're not circle hooks."
I never knew anything about using circle hooks for yellow perch.
That was they gave out warnings for that this year. Fortunately, they didn't ticket anyone, thank God. But they did hand out some warnings.
But is there anything else going on? I mean, I don't want you to give up your whole Friday fishing report. You know what I mean? I said, anything coming up with you? Are you heading anywhere special that you maybe want somebody to know? I mean, are you just are you done yet with all the boat shows?
Pretty much. We had the Bay Bridge Boat Show back in April.
How about DC? Did you go there?
I did not go to DC. That one did I think that was just this past weekend, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I think I am done with boat shows until the fall season. I certainly hope I am.
So what is your schedule? What's your schedule now during the summertime? Is it just fishing or going everywhere, getting reports?
I wish I could say it was just fishing. No, we have a reports editor, Dylan Wooders. He does all of our reports, and thank God for it. He's fantastic at it. He collates all the information, gets it all into me. I get it Thursday night, and then I give it a quick edit and put it up online. But now, for my part, there's the work of getting a new issue of Fish Talk ready every month. Mm-hmm. There's the work of writing for other folks to, pay the mortgage and stuff.
Right.
And right now, from this point forward, most of the travel type stuff really should chillax a little bit. I do even have a couple of alleged vacations scheduled.
What?
We'll see if they go off.
Is it fishing or your wife finally saying there's no fishing on our vacations?
Oh, no. Vacations are as much fishing as possible, but I still got to work. No, actually, I tell you what, I should have mentioned, since you're a freshwater guy, I should have mentioned this. My wife got us a place last year on the Finger Lakes, on Lake Seneca. And at first I was like, oh, geez, lake, middle of the summer. I wish I was back on the bay. But then we went up there, and I got to tell you, I had a great time. It was a total different fishery. We were going after lake trout, brown trout, and yellow perch. And it was very cool. I had a great time. It was a whole new challenge. And we're doing it again this summer, although I think maybe Lake Cuca might be a different lake. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be cool.
It's a little getaway. I mean, you guys rent a boat, or do you take your boat with you?
I have a crabbing skiff that I haul. That's my travel boat, a little 16-footer. It's got a 25-horse Suzuki on the back, tiller steer. And I can take all the kids out on it. We can have a good time with it. And we hauled it up there last year. And then the house actually had a sling style lift, which I'd never really used before. It had two slings that went up and down. Yeah, very interesting. But the lake was full of them. I guess it's a lake thing. And so it was great. Get up early in the morning, run down there, go fishing for 2 hours, come in, have breakfast, hang out with the family, have lunch, go back out for the evening bite.
You take the boys with you when you go?
Oh, absolutely. They did a lot of fishing.
I met your son the other day. I had a good talk with him. He's like me when I was young. I was a long hair hippie too.
Oh yeah, that's David. Yeah, David's hair is extreme. He has extreme hair.
I heard his snakehead reports from down Salisbury. Now, if I was close to Salisbury on the Wycomico, anywhere near the town, I probably wouldn't eat too much of anything out of that water. I would really have to go far, far down the Nanticoke before.
Well, you know, it's funny. He is all eaten up with catching snakeheads. I mean, he does a
Yeah.
lot of snakehead fishing. He fishes like I did when I was his age, you know, just nonstop. But he doesn't like to eat fish. He does not eat fish. He either lets them go, or if somebody else says, "Hey, I want that snakehead," he'll give it to him. But he does not eat fish.
My wife don't eat fish either. She swears up and down she can't stand fish. Her mom used to make her eat it. She hated fish. But damn it, she'll go and grab a can of tuna fish and eat it.
Years ago.
Oh my God. It was I will never not give her a hard time about that. I come home with a fresh flounder, stuff it with crab meat, and she goes, ew. And then open a can of tuna fish with no mayonnaise. She don't like mayonnaise. And I tell her, I said, you know, that is the fishiest tasting fish on earth. And but she won't do it.
Can I pass a question on to your wife through you?
Absolutely.
Don't you at least take it and like shove the crab off the top and eat the crab?
He says, do you at least shove the crab meat off of the fish and at least eat the crab meat without the fish?
I will not touch it if it touches it.
If it touches the fish, she ain't touching it.
Oh my God. I don't know what to say.
Hey, after what, 37 years, our anniversary of 37 years is Friday coming up.
Well, that'll be 20 something.
20, no, it's not.
Yeah, this is our together.
Yeah.
30 something.
Whoa. Whoa. You screwed up the date. My wife screwed up her. She screwed. No, it's not 37 years. It's yeah, we got 2 dates. Yeah, I'm surprised most women got 50 dates we got to celebrate. She messed up the dates, Lenny. She owes me one now. There's one I can screw up, and I'm gonna go fishing one day when I'm not allowed, and I'm gonna. I'm always allowed. You see,
use that for fishing shit. Yeah, use that for fishing shit.
But you can you're a more than happy dude if you want to come up here with me, and we can fish for bass. We can fish for snakeheads. Now, we can fish for we can fish for catfish too, you know. Now with the river, the way the current is, I really want to set it up kind of like Dave set his up. You know, I want to make sure I'm weighted at the front and weighted in the back, because it's the current. You know how the current is. The current is silly up here on the Eastern Shore. And so, I mean, if you want to do that, you give me a heads up. I got to work on that boat positioning, though. But I know a couple good spots, a couple good deep spots. If you actually go down the river, I mean, there's some really, really deep spots down there. So it's up to you if you just want to come and do some bass fishing or something, or just get up and do anything. You are more than welcome to come up, and you let me know, and we can come up and we'll just pick a good tide. There was a good tide.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sam's a big senior guy. All right. Well,
there's
Lenny,
Paul poking again. All right, Paul. Yeah. I see you poking there.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go down, and like I said, I'm going down with Paulie to go. Now, Virginia, I was telling the wife that we were down there fishing, and because we're kind of we're the blue crabbers in here. There's so many. There's no recreational crabbers in Virginia.
No, there's no. Maryland is kind of unique, I think, in the level of recreational crabbing. I know some Virginia guys who do crab, but not. But you have a point. It's not like Maryland. Nowhere.
That's what you mean.
So believe it or not, I wrote an article once on how to run a trot line for Texas Fish and Game magazine. And I thought nothing of it, right? You run trot line, scoop your crabs, blah, blah, blah. And this thing like blew up on Facebook or something social, whatever, online. It blew up. And the reason it blew up was because everybody was like, what's wrong with you? Why the hell are you catching these things to eat? They were just mystified.
Can you trout line it? I wonder, can you trout line in Virginia?
Sure.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we could. And I wonder how many crabs you can keep down there.
That I don't know.
I know we were going down there, and we're sitting there, and there's crabs swimming on the top of the water. Every dock pylon, almost every pylon had a freaking crab on it. I'm like, oh my God, we can fill up a bushel in probably 20 minutes here. And they weren't little crabs either. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I do all my crabbing in the South River because my little crabbing skiff is on the pier right down there, and I just jump in and go. And when the crabbing, there are times when it's much better up north or much better down south, and that's great. But I don't care. I'll just go out and catch what I can catch, and close to home.
Yeah, we do that. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I really do one bushel a day. Oh Christ! Drive all the way down there. I can get that here.
Oh,
Maryland
I'm
crabs are better. No, I'm only
a
kidding.
little surprised at that.
So I appreciate you coming on. I know we talked at the Bay Bridge boat show, and so far every time I've asked you to come on, you've been much kind to come on and talk. And I hope you had fun. I hope I did a good job. I hope this was more just kind of goofing off and having a conversation.
I did have fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you have it. You go in every Friday. Won't you give them all the good stuff they need to know? Your Fish Talk magazine, and you have at the first Thursday of every month, you do a live stream, right?
Yep. First Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. we do Live with Lenny, which is kind of current events on fishing, whatever's hot, whatever's happening. And then every Friday at noon, our fishing reports come out. And if you go to fishtalkmag.com, go to the fishing reports, you can sign up on there and you'll get an email as soon as they come out that you can just click on the link and go and see all the reports. We divide it up. We have the far north Chesapeake Bay. We call it Wayne North. We have the Upper Bay, Middle Bay, Lower Bay, Tangier and Eastern Shore, Virginia, way south for down towards the mouth of the bay. We do a coastal report. We do a freshwater report. Ton of work goes into those reports. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but they're darn good reports. They really are. They're very comprehensive. Dylan does a phenomenal job gathering info. And,
That takes a lot. You do it once a month or you do it every Friday?
Oh, they're every Friday. They're weekly reports.
Yeah. That's a good guy. Then Zach, what's Zach do other than catch fish? Every time I turn around, he's got another picture of him catching a fish.
Zach makes the magazine. When you pick up Fish Talk and you flip through it,
yeah,
he laid out every page. He put every picture where it belongs. He makes the font, and he's got a guy working with him named Royal who does a great job. But he's kind of the man when it comes to the layout of the magazine. He does a ton of stuff on the website. He does our social media. He's also sort of our go-to fix-it guy. Like whenever something's not working, it's like, oh my God, call Zach. He's got all the answers.
I should have had him come on too. I think it would have been fun to actually have
you
both.
Should have him come on. Yeah.
I didn't even think. I was thinking about that, and then I'm sorry that I forgot it. Zach should have came on because he's really is he kind of your right hand man?
As far as Fish Talk goes, he absolutely is. He is a critical person, as critical as it gets.
And I know your sons have joined too. I mean, are they helping at all with is it more of the social media stuff?
It's the social media stuff, right? David is on our social media squad. We call them the Young Guns. Dylan is as well. And, they do the Instagram thing. They do the Facebook thing. They do the YouTube thing. I think there might even be a little bit of that TikTok thing in there somewhere. But honestly, I just kind of block that at this point. But yeah, they do the social media thing. And we do a lot of collaboration with them. They help boost our numbers. We help give them content, and it's just it works all the way around very well.
Cool. Anybody that's on my YouTube channel, can you please like, share, and subscribe to all this? If anybody likes it, would be great. I'm getting close. I went from 1 to 4,000 subscribers, at least from 3,000 to 4,000. I'm going like, it's rolling now. It's starting to roll.
That's nice.
Oh my God, at 4,000, it kind of just went, nope, hold on, buddy. Hold on. It's taking like almost, I haven't got to the 5,000. I figured I'd already been, last January, I wanted to be by like 10,000 subscribers by then, but we got another goal this year, this first year. And I'm close to that 5,000. I'm about 100 away. So
that's great.
Yeah. So I'm going to be pushing it. Hopefully there still might be this tiny, tiny, slim chance I might be commercial crabbing tomorrow. But if not, the honey-do list has got to be finished up. And I got 2 small things to do to my boat to make that trip down to Paulie's. There's one thing I've never had as a spare tire. And for some reason, the spare tire keeps pounding me in the head the last couple of weeks. Like, hey, you need a spare. Yeah. So I'm going to go make sure I got a spare tire. And, but Lenny, thank you very much for coming on. And I hope that if I invite you again, that you would come on, we can talk anything, it would be great. You're always fun to talk to, and like I said, I think Chesapeake Bay and the face when it comes to the Chesapeake Bay and fishing, I definitely believe Fish Talk, and you are definitely at face. So
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure being with you. I had
hey,
fun.
thanks, man. All right, guys, we're rolling out of here. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, Lenny. Here, I'll see you backstage.